Pastor Joel handed me the ultrasound photo during Sunday service and said, "Congratulations, brother. Bethany told me the news." I didn't know yet it was his baby. 5,300 people were watching. The sanctuary at Covenant Grace Community Church holds that many when we're at full capacity, and Easter season always fills the seats. I was standing in the third row, right side, where deacons traditionally sit. My wife Bethany was on stage with the worship team, not singing that morning, but sitting in the front row of chairs reserved for ministry leaders. Our daughter Hannah was behind the piano, 17 years old and already leading the contemporary service music. Joel's hand was warm when he shook mine. He pulled me into one of those half hugs pastors give, the kind where one arm wraps around your shoulders and the other pats your back. The microphone clipped to his collar picked up his voice. "Graham Mitchell has some news to share with his church family," Joel announced. The screens on either side of the stage flickered to life, showing my face in high definition. I hadn't known they were going to do this. I took the ultrasound from his hand. The paper was slick, that glossy thermal texture that medical imaging uses. It was still warm from being in his pocket. The image showed what ultrasounds always show: grainy black and white, the familiar bean shape, numbers and measurements along the edges. There was a blue logo at the top, Covenant Grace Pregnancy Support Ministry. "Bethany and I are expecting," I said. My voice sounded steady, confident even. "We're grateful for your prayers." The congregation erupted. Applause rolled through the sanctuary like thunder. People were standing. Hannah left the piano and ran down the stage steps to hug me, crying those happy teenage tears. She whispered, "Dad, I'm going to be a big sister again." Joel's hand lingered on Bethany's shoulder during the blessing. I noticed it from where I stood. His fingers rested there just a beat too long, too familiar. Then the moment passed, and we were singing the opening hymn, and I told myself I was imagining things, but I wasn't. That evening, we had what Bethany called a quiet celebration at home. Just the three of us around the kitchen table. I'd picked up Thai food from the place on Main Street that Bethany likes. She'd been craving Pad See Ew for weeks, she said. Couldn't get enough of it. "When did you find out?" I asked. I was unpacking the containers, setting them on the table. The smell of basil and chili filled the kitchen. "Last week," Bethany said. She was pulling plates from the cabinet. "I wanted to wait until I was sure. You know how it is." "Which doctor did you see?" "Dr. Patterson, the same OB I had with Hannah." I nodded. That made sense. Dr. Patterson's office was 20 minutes away over in Brentwood. "And how far along?" "About 8 weeks, she said. Quick, too quick. Maybe 9. Dr. Patterson will do the dating scan next week." I looked at the ultrasound photo again. Bethany had placed it in a wooden frame, the kind with a little stand on the back. She'd set it on the kitchen counter next to the coffee maker. The frame was nice, probably cost $40 or $50, already prepared, like she'd been planning this moment. Hannah was scrolling through her phone, texting friends. "Everyone at youth group is so excited," she said. Michaela Torres, the assistant worship director, she said Mom was glowing this morning. "When did we decide to try?" I asked Bethany. The question came out casual. Normal husband asking normal question. Bethany paused, just for a half second, with the serving spoon in her hand. "What do you mean?" "I mean, when did we have that conversation? About trying for another baby?" "Graham, we've talked about it for years." She was smiling, but there was something in her eyes, a sharpness. "You know we have." "I remember talking about it," I said. "I remember you saying maybe when Hannah graduated, that was 2 months ago." Well, I guess God had different timing. She set the food on the table. Subject closed. "Let's eat while it's hot." Hannah was too excited to notice the edge in our voices. She was already talking about names, about turning the guest room into a nursery, about how she'd teach the baby to play piano. 17 years old and already planning to be the world's best big sister. I ate my pad thai and watched my wife. She wasn't drinking wine. I'd opened a bottle, poured glasses for both of us, but hers sat untouched. When had she stopped drinking? I tried to remember. It had to have been at least 3 months ago, maybe 4. She'd said something about a health kick, about feeling better without alcohol. 3 months, maybe 4. 8 weeks pregnant, she said, maybe 9. The math didn't work. Later that night, I couldn't sleep. Bethany was beside me, breathing in that slow, steady rhythm that means deep sleep. I was staring at the ceiling, my mind running calculations I didn't want to be running. If she's 9 weeks pregnant now, that means conception happened in early February. Valentine's weekend, maybe. Or the week before. I got up quietly, went to my office. It's a small room off the kitchen, barely more than a closet really, but it has a desk and a filing cabinet and my teaching materials from the high school. I opened my laptop and pulled up my calendar. February. Let me see February. There it was. February 10th through 12th, parent-teacher conferences at Franklin High School, evening sessions. I'd stayed late all 3 nights, getting home after 10. Bethany had said she was going to a women's ministry retreat that weekend, some kind of spiritual renewal thing at a place called Mountain View, up in the hills outside Nashville. I'd been at school, she'd been at a retreat. We hadn't been together. My hands were shaking. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark. This was crazy. I was being paranoid. Obviously, we'd been together at some point. Obviously, I was miscounting. My memory was wrong. The dates were blurred. It had been a busy semester. I was teaching 4 sections of AP history, coaching the debate team, serving as a deacon. Time blurred together. But the calendar didn't lie. I went back to the bedroom. Bethany's purse was on the dresser, that oversized leather bag she carries everywhere. I'd never gone through her things before. Never had a reason to, but my hands were moving before I could stop them, unzipping the main compartment, feeling inside. Wallet, keys, lipstick, receipts, old church bulletins. A book, her Bible, the leather-bound one with her name engraved on the cover. Something fell out when I picked up the Bible. A piece of paper folded once. I opened it. Thermal paper. A receipt. The ink was starting to fade the way thermal paper does, but it was still legible. Mountain View Spiritual Retreat Center, February 10th to 12, 2025. Room 212, 2 nights, deluxe queen. Total the 340. There was a coffee stain on the corner. Small, brown ring. Room 212. I stood there in the dark bedroom, holding that receipt. My wife was asleep 3 feet away. My daughter was asleep down the hall. Everything looked normal. Everything looked like a family. I put the receipt in my pocket and went back to my office. It took me 10 minutes to find the number for Mountain View Spiritual Retreat Center. It took another 5 minutes of sitting there, staring at my phone before I called. The woman who answered sounded tired. It was almost midnight. Mountain View, this is Carol. Hi, Carol. I'm sorry to call so late. I have a question about a reservation from February. Is there any way you could look something up for me? Depends what you need, honey. My name is Graham Mitchell. My wife stayed there February 10th through 12th, room 212. I just need to confirm something about the booking. I could hear typing. Okay, yes, Mitchell, Bethany. Room 212, 2 nights. Is there a problem with the charge? No problem. The rooms there, do they have connecting doors? Between rooms? More typing. Let me see. Room 212 and yes, 212 connects to 211. A lot of couples request those rooms. Makes it nice for families or groups. My mouth was dry. And was room 211 occupied that weekend? I probably shouldn't give out guest information. Please, I said. It's important. Long pause. Then, well, I suppose it's a matter of record. Yes, 211 was occupied. Same dates. Who was in 211? Another pause. Longer this time. Sir, are you sure you want to know this? I'm sure. Pastor Joel Brennan booked under Covenant Grace Community Church, the church account. The room tilted. I was gripping the desk with one hand. Sir? Carol's voice was gentle, sad even. The rooms have a connecting door. Couples request those for, convenience. We're not a couple, I whispered. Sir, they checked in together. I remember because Pastor Brennan is on TV. We were excited to have him. They came in together Friday evening, checked out together Sunday morning. I thanked her. I don't remember what I said. Then I was sitting in the dark in my office, holding a receipt that proved my wife had spent 3 nights in a room with a connecting door to our pastor's room. February 10th through 12th. The dates matched the ultrasound. If you've ever found that one piece of paper, a receipt, a text, a note, that changed everything you thought you knew, just type receipts in the comments. Sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest truths. You're not alone in that moment of discovery. I didn't confront Bethany that night. I didn't wake her up and demand explanations. I'm not that guy. I was raised in foster care, bounced between 3 families before Frank and Martha Mitchell took me in when I was 16. You learn early not to make accusations without proof. You learn to gather evidence. You learn to be certain before you act. So the next morning, I taught my classes at Franklin High like nothing was wrong. I smiled at my students. I explained the Marshall Plan and the Berlin Airlift to 30 sleepy sophomores. During my planning period, I called my foster father. Frank, it's Graham. You busy? Frank Mitchell is 68 now, retired from the Franklin Police Department after 30 years. He was a detective for most of that time, solved cases, found evidence. He taught me that truth is patient. It waits for you to find it. Never too busy for you, son. What's going on? I told him about the ultrasound, the dates, the receipt, the connecting rooms. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, What do you need? I need to know if I'm crazy, if I'm making something out of nothing. You're not crazy, Frank said, but you need more than one receipt. You need a pattern. How do I find a pattern? Look at what's in front of you. Physical evidence, digital footprints, changes in behavior. When did she start acting different? I thought about it. 6 months ago, maybe. She took a new position at the church, executive assistant to Pastor Joel. It came with a promotion, a raise. She seemed happier. I thought it was because she loved the work. That's when it started, Frank said. Not a question, a statement. I don't know that for sure. Graham, listen to me. I love you like you're my biological son. I'm going to tell you something I tell every victim I ever interviewed. Trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. But don't move until you have evidence. Real, concrete evidence. Okay, I said. And Graham, call a lawyer. Not to file anything yet, just to know your options. I can't believe we're having this conversation. I know, son. I know. That afternoon, I drove to the Christian bookstore on Main Street, the one that sells devotionals and study Bibles and those wooden signs that say things like blessed and faith over fear. I wasn't there for signs. I was there for a book. Faithful Marriage by Pastor Joel Brennan. I'd seen it in the window display for months. Joel had written it 2 years ago, and it had become a bestseller in Christian circles. The cover showed Joel and his wife Patricia smiling at each other, gold lettering. Chapter 7 was titled Avoiding Temptation. We had a copy at home. Joel had signed it for us at the book launch event last year. To Graham and Bethany, a model couple, may your faithfulness inspire others. I remember Bethany had framed that inscription. It was hanging in our bedroom, but I wasn't looking for our copy. I was looking for another one. I found Bethany's car in the church parking lot that evening. She had a finance committee meeting, she'd said. I still had the spare key to her car on my key ring. We'd always had spare keys to each other's vehicles. Marriage trust, we called it. Her car was a silver Honda Accord, 5 years old, meticulously clean. Bethany didn't like clutter. Everything had a place. I opened the passenger door and looked in the glove compartment. Registration, insurance, a small first aid kit. Nothing unusual. The center console had her sunglasses, loose change, a pack of gum. Then I checked under the seats. That's where I found it. Another copy of Faithful Marriage. Same cover, same gold lettering, but this one was dog-eared, pages marked, highlighted passages. And when I opened the front cover, there was an inscription in Joel's handwriting, "To my inspiration, our time together shaped every word. All my love, Jay. Our time together, all my love." The book was signed the same date as our copy. Same day, same event. He'd signed 2 books, one for us as a couple, one for her privately. Our signed copy at home said, "To a model couple." Her hidden copy said, "To my inspiration." Same handwriting, same date, different message. I sat in her car in the church parking lot holding that book. Chapter 7 was heavily highlighted. Avoiding temptation. The passages about guarding your heart, about keeping appropriate boundaries with co-workers, about how Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. She'd highlighted it all while having an affair with the author. I put the book back where I found it. I locked the car, I walked to mine and drove home. Hannah was in the kitchen when I got there, making a snack before youth group. "Dad, you okay? You look tired." "Long day, sweetie. How was school?" "Fine. We're doing Guatemala for our mission trip this summer. I'm so excited. Pastor Joel is leading it. He's literally the best." I smiled, nodded, said all the dad things. Then Hannah grabbed her Bible and her backpack and headed out to youth group, and I was alone in the house. I went upstairs to our bedroom. The framed inscription was still there, hanging on the wall next to our wedding photo. "To a model couple." What a joke. I started looking after that, really looking. Bethany kept her prayer journal on her nightstand, burgundy leather, her name embossed in gold on the cover. Bethany's prayers, 2024-2025. She wrote in it every morning. I'd seen her do it 1,000 times, sitting in bed with her coffee, pen moving across the pages. It was 2 a.m. when I finally opened it. The leather cover cracked when I lifted it. That specific sound leather makes, almost like a sigh. The pages smelled like lavender sachets. That was Bethany's scent, always. Lavender and something else, something expensive. I expected to find prayers, scriptures, reflections on faith. I found love letters. "Dear Lord," the first entry began, "thank you for bringing Joel into my life." My hands started shaking. Our connection is deeper than anything I've experienced. You brought us together for a purpose. I know Graham is a good man, but he doesn't understand me the way Joel does. Joel sees my potential. Joel sees the woman you created me to be. I flipped ahead. February 15th. Dear Lord, Joel and I confessed our love today. It felt like the most honest moment of my life. You brought us together. Our union is sacred. I know the world won't understand, but you do. You see our hearts. You know this love is pure because it comes from you. March 1st. Our child will be blessed because this union is divinely ordained. Joel says Graham lacks the spiritual maturity to understand. Joel says some people are meant to be stepping stones, not partners. I feel guilty sometimes, but then I remember God doesn't make mistakes. If he didn't want us together, he wouldn't have created this connection. March 10th. I'm pregnant. Joel doesn't know yet. I'll tell him after I tell Graham. Graham will understand. He's always been so good at sacrifice. The church is our family. Family takes care of each other. Family forgives. I was sitting on the edge of our bed, reading my wife's prayers, every single entry for 9 months. Love letters to our pastor disguised as prayers to God. She'd made God her accomplice. Every prayer was justification. Every amen was permission. The pen indentations were visible on every page. She'd pressed hard when writing. The purple ribbon bookmark was silk. Even her betrayal was organized. I called Frank at 2:30 in the morning. "Dad?" My voice was breaking. I hadn't called him Dad in years, not out loud. "Dad, I need you. I'm on my way." He was there in 15 minutes, found me in the kitchen, the journal open on the table. I read it out loud to him, every entry. My voice kept cracking, breaking. The words felt like they were cutting my throat on the way out. "Dear Lord, Joel and I confessed our love today. You brought us together for a purpose. Our child will be blessed because this union is sacred." I looked at Frank, my foster father, the man who taught me what family could be when I was 16 and angry and alone. "Dad, she made God her accomplice. Every prayer was a love letter to him. She didn't just break our marriage vows. She rewrote the commandments. She made betrayal holy." Frank pulled me into his chest. His hands were steady on my shoulders. "Son," he said, "that's not God. That's her rewriting God to avoid guilt." "But I can't tell the difference right now. I can't." I know you can't. That's what makes this so cruel. She took your faith and weaponized it." We sat there in the dark kitchen. The journal was still open. Lavender smell, silk bookmark, love letters disguised as prayers. "What do I do?" I asked. Frank was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "You gather more evidence, you prepare. And when the time is right, you tell the truth, even when it costs everything." "The church is our family," I whispered. It was what we always said at Covenant Grace, what we'd said for years. "Real family doesn't lie," Frank said. "Real family doesn't use God's name to justify betrayal." I nodded. But in that moment, sitting in my kitchen at 3 in the morning, reading prayers that were love letters, I wasn't sure I believed in family anymore. Not the kind I thought I had, anyway. The next morning, I went to see Raymond Cole. Raymond chairs the elder board at Covenant Grace. He's 58, former Marine, owns a construction company, the kind of man who says exactly what he means and expects you to do the same. He's been an elder for 12 years. Longer than Joel has been senior pastor. I found him at his office in downtown Franklin. 7 in the morning. Raymond's always there early. "Graham," he said when I walked in. "Little early for a social call. I need to show you something." I laid it out for him. The ultrasound dates, the retreat receipt, the connecting rooms, the prayer journal entries, the book inscription. Raymond didn't interrupt. He just listened, his jaw getting tighter with each piece of evidence. When I finished, he said, "You have copies of all this?" "Photos on my phone. Frank helped me document everything." "Frank Mitchell, your dad?" "Yeah." Raymond nodded. "Good man. He taught me how to frame a house back when I was starting out." He looked at the photos again. "Graham, I need you to know something. You're not the first person to come to me about Joel." The room tilted. "What?" "Can't say more than that right now. Confidentiality, but you're not the first." He picked up his phone. "I'm calling an emergency elder board meeting tonight. Can you be there?" "Yes." "Bring everything, every piece of evidence. And Graham?" He looked at me hard. "This is going to get ugly. Joel's not going to go quietly. You understand that?" "I understand. The church is going to split over this. People love Joel. They believe in him. When this comes out..." "I know," I said. "The church is our family. Family doesn't want to believe one of their own is capable of this." "No," Raymond said. "They don't." That afternoon, I had to go to the church. I was scheduled to teach my Wednesday night men's Bible study. 20 guys, ages 30 to 60, meeting in the fellowship hall to discuss the book of James. Bethany was there when I arrived. She was in her office, the executive suite on the second floor, right next to Joel's private office. She'd gotten that promotion 6 months ago. New desk, new title, keys to the executive level. I saw her in the hallway. She was carrying a stack of files, wearing the navy dress she always wore for finance committee days. "Hey," she said, smiling. "Didn't know you were coming by today." "Bible study," I said. "Same as every Wednesday." "Right. Of course." She shifted the files. A key dangled from her finger, brass key on a leather keychain. Covenant Grace, Executive Offices, engraved on the metal tag. "That's new," I said, nodding at the key. "Joel gave it to me last week. Makes it easier to access the files after hours. You know how it is during building fund season, so many late nights getting everything organized." Late nights, executive offices. "How many late nights?" I asked. She looked at me. Something flickered in her eyes. "What?" "How many late nights have you been working?" "I don't know, a few a week." "Graham, why are you asking?" "Just curious. You've been coming home late a lot. I worried you were overdoing it." "Well, it's for the church," she said, defensive now. "The building fund is at $12 million. We're breaking ground next month. Someone has to manage the details." "Right, the building fund." She held my gaze for a moment. Then she said, "I need to get these to Joel. I'll see you at home." She walked away. The key jingled with each step. After Bible study, I stayed late. The church custodian, Marcus, was cleaning the hallways. I'd known Marcus for 8 years. His son was in Hannah's youth group. "Marcus, can I ask you something?" "Sure thing, Mr. Mitchell." "The security system, does it track keycard access?" He looked uncomfortable. "Yeah, everything's logged, date, time. Which key, which door?" "Who has access to those logs?" "Elder board, HR director, building manager." He paused. "Why you asking?" "Just wondering. Thanks, Marcus." I called Raymond on my drive home. "Can you pull security logs for the executive offices? Bethany's key card?" "I can. What am I looking for?" "Late night access. How many times? When?" Raymond was quiet. "Then I'll have them by the meeting tonight." The elder board meeting was in Raymond's conference room. Not at the church. Raymond wanted neutral ground. 7 elders total, all men per our church bylaws, ages 48 to 72, business owners, doctors, 1 retired pastor, and me? I wasn't an elder, but Raymond had invited me as a witness. Raymond laid out the security logs first. Printed spreadsheets, Bethany's keycard number highlighted in yellow. "Midnight access to executive offices," Raymond said. 47 times in the last 9 months. 47 times. "Same nights, Joel's car was in the parking lot," Raymond continued. "We checked the security camera timestamps. His vehicle, her vehicle, both present. Sometimes until 2, 3 in the morning. One of the elders, Thomas Bradley, owns a medical supply company, said, 'Could be legitimate work. Building fund is a big project.'" "That's what I thought," Raymond said. He slid another paper across the table. "Then this arrived this morning, anonymously." It was a manila envelope addressed to Elder Board Chair, urgent. Inside were printouts, text messages, hundreds of them, from a phone number I didn't recognize to another number I didn't recognize, but the content was clear. "Can't wait to see you tonight, room 211. Graham's working late again. We have until midnight. I love you. I love you. I love you. When can we tell everyone? I'm tired of hiding." The messages went back 8 months. "These phones," Raymond said. "We traced the numbers, burner phones, but they were purchased on the church credit card. Joel's assistant found the receipts." He slid 2 more papers across. Purchase orders. CG Ministry Emergency Line. 2 smartphones activated January 2024. Ministry Emergency Line. 8 months of text that had nothing to do with ministry. "There's more," Raymond said. He looked at me. His expression was painful. "Graham, I'm sorry. You need to see this." Hotel receipts, dozens of them. Mountain View wasn't the only one. There was the Gaylord Opryland, the Hermitage Hotel in downtown Nashville, a bed and breakfast in Gatlinburg, all charged to Covenant Grace Community Church building fund expenses, all with the notation leadership development or ministry counseling retreat or strategic planning session, my $25,000 pledge, all those sacrificial donations from the congregation, $12 million raised for a new building. Joel had spent $47,000 of it on hotel rooms for his affair with my wife. Raymond's voice was hard. The board needs to decide our next steps, but first we need to hear from Joel. He's coming here? I asked. He's outside, waiting. Joel Brennan walked into that conference room like he owned it. Tailored suit, perfect hair, that smile that had convinced 3,500 people every Sunday that they were part of something divine. "Gentlemen," he said, "Raymond said it was urgent." "Sit down, Joel," Raymond said. Joel sat. He saw me, and his smile faltered for just a moment. Then it was back. "Graham, good to see you, brother." I said nothing. Raymond slid the evidence across the table. "We need to talk about these." Joel looked at the printouts, the text messages, the hotel receipts, the security logs. His face didn't change. Not one flicker of surprise. Not one moment of shame. He'd been ready for this. "I can explain," he said. His voice was calm, pastoral. "Bethany has been going through a difficult time, spiritual warfare. She came to me for counseling." "Counseling," Raymond interrupted, 47 times at midnight in your private office. "Spiritual matters don't keep business hours," Joel said smoothly. "When someone is struggling, you make yourself available." "And the hotel rooms?" This was Thomas Bradley, the medical supply elder. Mountain View, the Gaylord, Gatlinburg. Ministry retreats. Bethany was helping organize the women's conference. We needed quiet space to plan. "Connecting rooms," I said. My voice was steady, cold. "Mountain View confirmed. You and Bethany checked in together. Stayed in connecting rooms." Joel looked at me, really looked at me. And for the first time, I saw what was underneath the pastoral mask. Contempt. "Graham," he said, "I understand you're upset. Pregnancy hormones can make women emotional, and perhaps Bethany said something that you misinterpreted." "She's pregnant with your child," I said. Silence. Joel's lawyer spoke up. I hadn't even noticed him in the corner. Young guy, expensive suit. He'd been on a speakerphone the whole time. "Pastor Brennan has no comment on that allegation," the lawyer said. "This meeting is over." Joel stood. "Raymond, I think it's best if we continue this conversation with all parties' legal counsel present." "Sit down," Raymond said. His voice had that Marine sergeant snap to it. "We're not done." "Actually, we are." Joel was already walking to the door. "My attorney advises that I not engage in any further discussion without proper representation. The board will receive our formal response within 48 hours. He paused at the door, looked back at me. "Graham, I'm sorry you're going through this, truly, but making accusations against church leadership is a serious matter. You might want to consider what's best for Hannah, for your family, for your reputation in this community." Then he was gone. Raymond looked at me. He'd already prepared for this. He knew we knew. "Someone told him," Thomas Bradley said. "Someone on this board or someone with access." "Doesn't matter now," Raymond said. "What matters is what we do next." The board discussed options. Suspension pending investigation, requiring Joel to step down temporarily, bringing in an outside investigator. I barely heard it. I was thinking about Joel's face. The contempt, the threat about Hannah, your reputation in this community. He was going to fight. He was going to make this ugly. And Hannah had no idea what was coming. Hannah found out 2 days later she was at a church sleepover. The youth group did them once a month. Girls in one wing, boys in another, worship and games until midnight. Hannah loved them. She'd been going since she was 12. The call came at 11:30. Hannah sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. Dad, please come get me, right now. I was there in 10 minutes. Found her in the church parking lot, sitting on the curb with her friend Kayla. Kayla had her arm around Hannah, both of them crying. I got Hannah in the car. What happened? She couldn't speak, just shook her head, tears streaming. Han, talk to me. What's wrong? She pulled something from her backpack, burgundy leather, lavender smell, the prayer journal. Mom left it in the youth room, Hannah said, voice breaking. She was helping set up earlier. It was on the counter. I thought I'd read it. For inspiration. Everyone does it at sleepovers. We read our prayer journals and share testimonies. Oh, God. Oh, no. I opened it, Hannah whispered, in front of everyone. Kayla and Jess and Madison. I started reading out loud. She was shaking. I pulled her into my arms. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing Joel into my life, she recited. Her voice was hollow, mechanical, like she was reading someone else's words. Our love is pure because it comes from you. Bless our sacred union. She pulled back and looked at me. Her face was destroyed, mascara streaking, eyes red. Dad, I read 5 pages before I realized what I was reading, in front of my friends, about my mom and Pastor Joel. Han, our child will be blessed because this union is divinely ordained. Dad, is the baby? Is it? I nodded. Couldn't speak, just nodded. Hannah made a sound I'd never heard from her, a wail, pure pain. I led mission trips, she said. I sang about purity and faithfulness at worship. I told my friends this church was safe. I wrote my testimony about finding Jesus here when I was 12. She was crying so hard her whole body shook. I'm supposed to go to Bible college next year. I was going to be a missionary. That's what I wanted. That's who I thought I was. She looked at me, my daughter, 17 years old, her whole world view cracking apart. What do I believe now? She asked. If Pastor Joel is a lie and Mom is a lie and they led me to Jesus, was that a lie too? Did I ever really believe anything, or did I just believe them? I didn't have an answer because I was asking myself the same question. We sat in the church parking lot for an hour, my daughter crying in my arms. The building where we'd worshiped for 8 years lit up behind us. 3,500 members. Building fund at $12 million. Easter service in 6 weeks, broadcast to 50,000 homes. All of it built on something that might be a lie. Hannah finally spoke. Her voice was small, young, the voice of the 12-year-old she'd been when she first walked forward at an altar call. Dad, what do we do now? I don't know, baby. I don't know. But that was a lie. I did know. We told the truth, even if it cost us everything. Joel came to see me 3 days later. He showed up at Franklin High during my planning period. My classroom was empty. All the students were at lunch. Just me grading essays on the Treaty of Versailles. Graham, he said from the doorway, got a minute? I looked up. He was wearing jeans and a button-down. Casual Joel. Relatable Joel. Not the suit and tie pastor version. I'm working, I said. I know. I won't take long. He came in anyway, closed the door, sat in one of the student desks, looked ridiculous. 6'2" frame crammed into furniture built for teenagers. I want to make you an offer, he said. Oh, not interested. Hear me out, please. That pastoral tone, gentle, reasonable. Graham, you're hurting. I understand that. Your wife, your pastor. It's a betrayal of the deepest kind. I take full responsibility for my part in this. Your part, I repeated, your part in sleeping with my wife and getting her pregnant. Yes. He didn't flinch. It was wrong. I know that. Patricia knows too. Patricia knows. I told her after the elder board meeting, full confession. She's devastated, as you can imagine. He leaned forward. But she wants to save our marriage for our kids. And I want to save the church. The church. Graham, think about it. Easter is in 6 weeks. We have a building dedication in 3 weeks. 50,000 people watch our services online. If this becomes public, if it becomes a scandal, 3,500 families will be hurt. Your daughter's friends, your students, everyone who found faith at Covenant Grace. I put down my pen. What do you want, Joel? I want you to consider something. He pulled a folder from his bag. There's a missions position open in Kenya. 2-year commitment. The church would fund it fully. Salary, housing, education for Hannah. You'd be doing incredible work, teaching, building schools, spreading the gospel. He slid the folder across the desk. You leave in August. By the time you come back, this will have blown over. Bethany and I will have dealt with things quietly. Patricia and I will work through our marriage. The church stays intact. Hannah gets space to process without being the center of a scandal. I looked at the folder, didn't open it. On Joel's desk, visible through the open door of his office, I could see the cornerstone dedication plaque. Bronze, 24 by 18 inches, heavy, expensive. Dedicated to the faithful leadership of Pastor Joel Brennan and wife Patricia. The plaque was sitting right there, next to the bribe offer. You want me to leave? I said slowly. You want me to take the Africa position, disappear for 2 years, and let you keep the church, keep the building fund, keep your reputation. I'm offering you a way to heal, Joel said, for you and Hannah, away from the pain, a chance to serve God while you process this. And if I say no? His expression didn't change, but his voice got colder, harder. Then this gets messy. Legal battles, custody fights. Bethany's lawyers will argue that you're unfit, that your history, the foster care, the abandonment issues makes you unstable, that you're trying to destroy Hannah's mother out of spite. Abandonment issues, I repeated. Graham, you were passed between 3 families before the Mitchells took you. That leaves scars, makes it hard to trust, makes you see betrayal where there might be other explanations. He stood. I'm not saying any of this to hurt you. I'm saying it because a judge will hear it. A congregation will hear it. And they'll wonder, is Graham Mitchell thinking clearly? Or is he projecting his childhood trauma onto a situation that doesn't exist? He put his hand on my shoulder. I wanted to break his fingers. Take the Africa position, he said softly. It's the right thing for everyone. Then he left. I sat there for a long time. The folder was still on my desk. Dedicated to the faithful leadership of Pastor Joel Brennan. He'd bribed me in the shadow of his own dedication, in the presence of his own monument, and he'd weaponized my childhood. Turned 16-year-old foster kid Graham into ammunition against 40-year-old man Graham. I opened my phone, called Raymond. He just offered me money to leave the country. Raymond swore. He what? Africa missions position. 2 years. Full funding. I disappear. He keeps the church. Graham, and if I refuse, he'll use my foster care history against me. Claim I have abandonment issues, that I'm imagining things. Silence. Then, that son of a... I need a lawyer, I said. Not a church lawyer, a real one. I know someone, Sharon Kendrick, Christian Family Law. She's good. She's expensive, but she's good. Set it up. I hung up and looked at that folder. Kenya missions, noble work, serving God in Africa while Joel served himself in Franklin. Not happening. I threw the folder in the trash. 2 days later, I met Patricia Brennan at a coffee shop in Brentwood. Neutral territory, she'd said, away from church, away from Franklin. Patricia is 43, a children's ministry director, married to Joel for 20 years. 2 kids, 8 and 11. Always perfectly composed. Always the model pastor's wife. She looked exhausted when she walked in. No makeup, hair in a ponytail, jeans and a sweatshirt. I'd never seen her dressed down before. Thank you for coming. she said, sitting across from me. "I wasn't sure you'd want to see me." I didn't at first. She ordered coffee. Black, no sugar. "I wanted to hate you. Blame you somehow. That's easier than accepting that my husband is who he is." "Who is he?" She looked at me. Her eyes were red, cried out. "A narcissist who believes his ministry exempts him from moral standards." She said it like she'd rehearsed, like she'd been saying it to herself for days. "He's done this before." The coffee shop noise faded. "What?" 3 years ago, different secretary, Emily Chen. She was 24. Joel was mentoring her, he said, spiritual guidance. Then she was pregnant. Then she was gone. Gone? The board paid her to leave quietly. $50,000, NDA, moved to California. My kids were younger then, 5 and 8. I thought I could stay for them, to keep the family intact. She was crying now. Quiet tears. I told myself it was a mistake, that Joel would change, that our ministry was too important to destroy over one mistake. Patricia, it wasn't one mistake. It was a pattern, and I enabled it. I stayed silent. I let Emily go without a fight because I wanted to protect my kids. And because of that, Joel thought he could do it again, with Bethany, with whoever comes next. She pulled out a copy of Faithful Marriage, our book, Joel's bestseller. He practiced his speeches on me, she said, Chapter 5, Avoiding the Appearance of Evil. 17 takes. I listened to him rehearse about maintaining boundaries, about guarding your marriage, about Satan disguising himself as an angel of light. She opened the book to a heavily highlighted section. The greatest threat to a faithful marriage isn't external temptation, it's internal justification. The moment you tell yourself your sin is somehow special, somehow sanctioned by God, you've lost everything. She laughed, bitter, broken. He knew. He wrote about it, he preached about it, and he did it anyway because he believed his own exception. I didn't know what to say. Patricia closed the book, slid it across the table. I'm staying at Covenant Grace, she said. Not for Joel, he's dead to me. But my kids are 8 and 11. This is their church home. I'm staying and rebuilding so they see that truth wins, that the institution can survive the infection if we cut it out. She looked at me hard. But you and Hannah, you should go. Find a real church. Find people who mean it when they say the church is family. Because this, she gestured around like the whole of Covenant Grace was visible. This isn't family. This is a business built on charisma and lies. I'm not leaving without a fight, I said. Then fight. Her voice was steel. But know this, Joel won't go quietly. He'll destroy you if he can. He'll use your foster care history. He'll claim you're unstable. He'll make Hannah choose between you and her mother. He already threatened that. Patricia nodded. He's done this before. 3 years ago, he told Emily she'd never work in ministry again if she talked. He told her no one would believe her over him. He was right. No one did. The board believed his version. The church believed his version. Emily left broken. I'm not Emily, I said. No, Patricia said. You're not. You're a man. You have Frank Mitchell behind you. You have Raymond. You have credibility Joel can't easily destroy. She stood to leave, paused. He's done this before, Graham. The board covered it up. They paid Emily to disappear. They let Joel keep preaching, keep writing, keep building his brand. She met my eyes. My kids are young. They don't need to know details. But Hannah? She deserves the truth. And 3,500 people deserve to know who they're following. She walked away. I sat there holding Faithful Marriage, the book that launched Joel's career, the book about guarding your marriage that he wrote while destroying 2 of them. Chapter 7, Avoiding Temptation. He'd written the manual for his own crime. If you were Graham right now, what would you do? Easter service is in 6 weeks. 50,000 people will be watching. Joel is scheduled to preach about guarding your marriage. Would you expose him before Easter and let the truth destroy the church publicly? Type truth. Or wait and handle it privately through the elder board to protect 3,500 members who did nothing wrong? Type wait. What would you do? There's no easy answer. I see you in the comments. Some of you saying truth no matter what. Some of you saying protect the innocent. Graham asked me the same thing. I told him truth and mercy aren't always opposites. Sometimes truth is mercy, even when it hurts. I made an appointment with Sharon Kendrick. Her office was in a high-rise in downtown Nashville, all glass and steel and expensive furniture. Sharon was 51, short silver hair, no-nonsense expression. She'd been practicing Christian family law for 25 years. Raymond said she'd never lost a case she believed in. I told her everything, showed her everything, the receipts, the journal, the text messages, the security logs. She listened without interrupting, took notes, asked clarifying questions. When I finished, she said, "You have an airtight case for divorce. Adultery is grounds in Tennessee. And with a pastor, with documented abuse of church funds, judge will rule in your favor." What about Hannah? She's 17. Court will consider her preference. And given that Bethany committed adultery, you'll likely get primary custody. And the church? Sharon looked at me carefully. That's trickier. Churches are private organizations. They can handle discipline internally. But the embezzlement, that's criminal. 47,000 in misappropriated funds. That's felony territory. I don't want Joel to go to jail, I said. I just want the truth to come out. Sometimes those are the same thing, Sharon said. But I understand. We can file divorce papers, request a temporary restraining order, and notify the board of the financial fraud without pressing criminal charges. Let the church decide what to do with Joel. And Bethany, she'll fight. She has to. She's pregnant, unemployed once this breaks, and facing a custody battle. Her lawyer will argue that you're unstable. They always do in cases like this. They'll use your background. There it was again. My background. 16-year-old foster kid Graham, still haunting 40-year-old man Graham. Can they do that? Legally? They can argue anything. Whether a judge buys it is different. You're a high school teacher with a clean record, respected in the community, deacon at your church, father who's been present for Hannah her whole life. Any judge worth their gavel will see through the abandonment narrative. She leaned forward. But Graham? They're going to try. Bethany's lawyer will paint you as damaged, as someone who sees betrayal everywhere because of childhood trauma, as someone who can't trust because you were never taught how. What do? You prepare, you document, and when they attack your past, you own it. You say, yes, I was in foster care. Yes, I know what abandonment feels like, and that's exactly why I know the difference between paranoia and proof. I'm not imagining this. Here are the receipts. I nodded. Sharon pulled out paperwork, divorce petition, financial disclosures, custody agreements. Sign these. I'll file tomorrow. Bethany will be served within 48 hours. I picked up the pen, looked at the papers. Graham and Bethany Mitchell, petitioner and respondent. Our names divided by legal terminology. I signed. Bethany was served the papers on a Thursday evening. I wasn't there. Sharon advised me to be somewhere public, somewhere with witnesses, so I was at Frank's house when the process server knocked on our door. Hannah called me, crying. "Dad, there's a man here. He gave Mom papers. She's screaming. What's happening?" "Put her on the phone," I said, rustling. Then Bethany's voice, ice cold. "You filed for divorce." "Yes." "You're doing this now, while I'm pregnant?" "You're pregnant with Joel's baby. I'm not raising another man's child." Silence. Then, "Graham, you're making a mistake. I can explain everything." "No," I said. "You can't. I've read the journal. I've seen the receipts. I've talked to Patricia." Another silence. "Patricia talked to you?" She told me about Emily Chen, about the pattern, about the $50,000 payout. Bethany's voice changed, harder, colder. You want to destroy me because you can't handle that I chose someone better, someone who sees my potential, someone who isn't stuck teaching high school history in a town that doesn't matter. Bethany, you have abandonment issues, Graham, from foster care. Frank and Martha were wonderful, but they couldn't fix what was already broken in you. You see betrayal everywhere. You can't trust. You can't love properly. Stop! Joel tried to help you. He offered you the Africa position, a chance to heal, to serve God, but you're too damaged to see it. You'd rather tear down the church, destroy Hannah's faith, ruin my life, all because you can't handle that I found real love with someone else. I closed my eyes. She was using the exact words Joel had used, the exact narrative. They'd planned this, rehearsed it. I'm not the one who destroyed our family, I said quietly. You did that. You and Joel, with every midnight meeting, every hotel room, every prayer you rewrote to make betrayal holy. The church is our family, Bethany said, and family forgives. But you don't know how to do that, do you? Because you never really had a family, not a real one. Just Frank and Martha trying to fix a broken kid who... I hung up. My hands were shaking. Frank was standing in the doorway. He'd heard everything. Son, he said. Don't, I said. Don't tell me she's wrong. Don't tell me I'm not broken. Don't... You're not broken, Frank said. He sat next to me. You were hurt. There's a difference. Hurt can heal. Broken means destroyed. You're not destroyed, Graham. You're here. You're fighting. You're protecting your daughter. She used you against me. Used Martha. Used the fact that you took me in and loved me. She made that into a weapon. I know. She said I can't love properly. That I'll never understand real family because... Stop. Frank's voice was hard. Listen to me. You were 16 when you came to us, angry, scared. You'd been bounced between 3 homes, 3 sets of people who said they'd love you and then sent you back when you didn't perform correctly. He gripped my shoulder. And you know what you did? You learned. You grew. You built a life. You married. You raised Hannah. You became exactly the kind of father you never had. That's not broken. That's heroic. Then why does it hurt so much when she says it? Because she knows where to cut. That's what abusers do. They find your wound and they press on it until you break. I am breaking. No, Frank said. You're bending. There's a difference. You're going to bend, Graham. You're going to hurt, but you're not going to break. Because breaking means letting them win, and they don't get to win. I nodded, tried to believe him. The papers were filed. Sharon said we'd have a court date within 60 days. Easter was in 43 days. Joel was scheduled to preach about faithful marriage to 50,000 people. And Bethany thought I was too broken to stop her. She was wrong. Raymond called the full elder board together 2 weeks later. Not at his office this time, at the church, in the main conference room, 7 elders, Sharon Kendrick, a forensic accountant named David Cho, and me. David Cho had spent 14 days going through Covenant Grace's financial records, building fund expenses specifically. He was 52, former FBI financial crimes investigator, now worked private sector. Raymond had hired him personally. David laid out spreadsheets across the conference table, highlighted sections, receipts paper-clipped to corresponding entries. Building fund administrative expenses, David said, $47,312 over 9 months. He pointed to the first entry, January 14th, 2024, $3,200, Mountain View Spiritual Retreat. Notation, Leadership Development Weekend. Card ending in 4492, that's the church business account. Another entry. February 10th, hotel receipt you already saw, $3,400 for 2 rooms, room service, spa services. Notation, strategic planning session. More entries. The Gaylord Opryland, $5,000. The Hermitage Hotel, $4,800. A bed and breakfast in Gatlinburg, $8,500 for a long weekend. Jewelry purchases, David continued. October 2024, $4,200 at Tiffany. Notation Ministry Appreciation Gift. November, $3,800 at Cartier, same notation. He looked at me. The Cartier purchase was a watch, engraved. To V, our time together, CH. The watch Bethany wore, the expensive one I'd noticed months ago, paid for with church money. David slid the final spreadsheet across the table. Total misappropriation, $47,312, all from building fund donations, all notated as legitimate ministry expenses. He paused. Graham, what was your building fund pledge? $25,000, 5-year commitment. You've paid $14,000 so far. Where do you think that money went? I looked at the spreadsheets, the hotel rooms, the jewelry, the counseling retreats that were affair weekends. It paid for them, I said. My voice sounded far away. My pledge money. It paid for hotel rooms where my wife slept with her boss. Raymond's jaw was tight. Every donor gave sacrificially. Young families, retirees on fixed incomes, people who skipped vacations, drove old cars, put off repairs so they could give to the building fund, were at $12 million raised, and Joel stole from it to fund his affair. Thomas Bradley spoke up. This is beyond adultery. This is embezzlement, fraud, criminal misuse of non-profit funds. It's also a pattern, David said. I found similar expenses 3 years ago. Different notations, same pattern. Hotels, gifts, transfers. Total of $53,000 over 6 months, ending abruptly in July 2021. Emily Chen, I said. David nodded. The board made a $50,000 payment to an Emily Chen in August 2021. Notation, severance and confidentiality agreement, right after the expense pattern stopped. Raymond put his head in his hands. We paid her off. The previous board paid her to leave quietly, and Joel learned he could get away with it. What are our options? This was Elder Marcus Webb, the retired pastor. 72 years old, been at Covenant Grace since it started. Sharon spoke up. Legally, you report the fraud to authorities. Joel faces criminal charges. The church cooperates with investigation, demonstrates you're taking it seriously, protects the non-profit status. And the church? Marcus asked. What happens to us? That depends, Sharon said. You can handle this quietly, force Joel to resign, return the money, sign an NDA, disappear. Or you can handle it publicly, full disclosure to the congregation, explain what happened, show how you're correcting course. Quietly means it happens again, I said. 3 years from now, different pastor, different secretary, same pattern. Publicly means the church might not survive, Thomas said. We have 3,500 members, families, kids and youth group. If this becomes a scandal, it already is a scandal, Raymond interrupted. We just get to choose whether we own it or hide it. The room was silent. Then Marcus Webb, the oldest elder, the one who'd been there from the beginning, spoke. I'm 72 years old. I helped plant this church. I've watched it grow from 50 people in a high school gymnasium to this. He gestured around. And I'll tell you what I've learned. Buildings don't make churches. Truth does. We can survive losing Joel Brennan. We can survive a scandal. We can't survive becoming the kind of place that protects predators to preserve reputation. He looked at me. Graham came to us with evidence. He could have stayed quiet, could have taken that Africa position, disappeared, let it all blow over. He chose truth instead, even knowing it would cost him everything. That's what deacons are supposed to do. That's what elders are supposed to do. Marcus stood. I move that we remove Joel Brennan as senior pastor effective immediately. I move that we report the financial fraud to authorities. And I move that we tell the congregation the truth before Easter. before he stands in that pulpit one more time and preaches about faithfulness while living a lie. Second, Raymond said immediately. The vote was unanimous. Joel was officially removed as senior pastor on March 28th, 3 weeks before Easter. The elder board sent him a certified letter. Return the $47,000. Resign immediately. Leave quietly or face criminal charges. Joel's lawyer sent back a counteroffer. Retirement package, full benefits, positive recommendation letter, public announcement that he's pursuing other ministry opportunities. Raymond's response was 2 words: resign immediately. Joel held a press conference instead, called it a clarification, said the elder board was pursuing a radical agenda that didn't align with the church's vision, said he was taking a sabbatical to pray about next steps. Never mentioned adultery, never mentioned embezzlement, never mentioned Bethany. The congregation was confused. Rumors spread. People took sides without knowing what the sides were. Hannah stopped going to youth group, stopped attending Sunday services, spent most of her time at Frank's house, avoiding everyone. I can't look at them, she told me. My friends, they don't know. They think Pastor Joel is just taking a break. They think Mom is just stressed from the pregnancy. They don't know they're... I know, baby. When are you going to tell everyone? Soon, I said. Easter Sunday. She looked at me. You're going to say it in front of everyone? The board offered to make the announcement, but I think it needs to come from me. It needs to be real, not corporate, not sanitized. Dad, there will be 50,000 people watching. On TV, everyone we know will see it. I know. And you're still going to do it? I nodded. Hannah was quiet for a long time. Then she said, Can I be there when you do it? You don't have to. I want to. If you're going to stand up there and tell the truth, I want to stand with you. Easter morning came clear and cold. 52 degrees at sunrise. The church parking lot started filling at 7 a.m. for the 8:30 service. By 8, there were 1,200 cars. I was in Raymond's office with Frank and Hannah. We'd been there since 7, going over what I was going to say. Sharon had reviewed it, made sure I wasn't saying anything that would complicate the legal case. Keep it factual, she'd said. Evidence, not emotions. Let the facts do the work. But facts weren't going to be enough. Not for this. Hannah was wearing a navy dress. Simple. Dignified. She looked older than 17. She looked like she'd aged a year in the last 3 weeks. You ready? I asked her. No, she said, but I'm doing it anyway. Frank squeezed my shoulder. I'm proud of you, son, both of you. There was a knock on the door. Patricia Brennan. She was dressed for church. Cream-colored suit, pearls, hair perfect, but her eyes were red. I wanted to say something before you go out there, she said. She looked at Hannah. You don't have to do this, honey. This isn't your burden to carry. It's already my burden, Hannah said. Might as well carry it honestly. Patricia nodded, turned to me. Joel's here, in the building. His lawyer said he has a right to attend services. He's sitting in the back row. Let him, I said. Let him hear it. Graham, when you say what happened, people are going to be angry at Joel, at Bethany, but also at the board, at me. They're going to ask why we didn't stop it sooner. What do you want me to say? The truth, Patricia said, that we failed, that the previous board paid Emily to leave instead of protecting the next woman, that I stayed silent to protect my kids instead of protecting the congregation, that we chose reputation over righteousness. She was crying now, quiet tears. I'm staying to rebuild, but you get to start over somewhere new, somewhere honest. Don't let them make you the villain. You're the only one who had the courage to tell the truth. The 8:30 service started. I could hear the worship music through the walls. Hannah's friend Kayla was on piano. The song was one Hannah had picked months ago for Easter, "Christ the Lord is risen today." The irony wasn't lost on me. At 8:50, Raymond came to get us. "They're finishing worship. You're up after the welcome and announcements." We walked through the back hallways. Hannah held my hand. Frank walked behind us. We entered through the stage door. 3,500 people in the sanctuary. The screens on either side showing camera feeds. The broadcast light was on. Red LED in the back, indicating 50,000 people watching from home. I saw Joel in the back row, suit and tie, calm expression. He was staring straight ahead, not looking at me. Bethany wasn't there. She'd stayed home, her lawyer said. Too stressful for the baby. Raymond did the welcome, made the announcements. Then he said, "Before we continue, Graham Mitchell has something he needs to share with the church." I walked to the podium. Hannah followed. She stood next to me, her hand on my arm. The sanctuary went silent. I looked out at them. 3,500 people. Families I'd known for 8 years, students I'd taught, parents from Hannah's school, people I'd served communion with, prayed with, done life with. The church is our family. That's what we'd always said. I opened my mouth. My voice was steady, clear. "My name is Graham Mitchell. I've been a member of Covenant Grace for 8 years, deacon for 3 years, teacher and father and husband." Past tense. The verb tense wasn't lost on anyone. 3 weeks ago, my wife Bethany announced she was pregnant. I was overjoyed. Hannah was excited to be a big sister. We celebrated. We thanked God. I paused. Let them feel the setup. Then I found evidence that the baby isn't mine. Gasps, whispers spreading through the sanctuary like wildfire. I found hotel receipts, text messages, a journal where Bethany wrote prayers, except they weren't prayers, they were love letters, to Pastor Joel Brennan. The whispers became noise, shock, confusion. Joel and Bethany had an affair that lasted 9 months. They used church resources, building fund money. $47,000 of your donations paid for hotel rooms, jewelry, weekend getaways. I pulled out the evidence, held up printouts, spreadsheets, the journal. The elder board investigated. They found proof. Security logs showing 47 midnight meetings in Joel's private office. Burner phones purchased on the church credit card. Hotel receipts charged to building fund administrative expenses. The sanctuary was chaos now. People standing, shouting, some crying. 3 years ago, Joel did this with another woman, Emily Chen. The board paid her $50,000 to leave quietly, to sign an NDA, to disappear. I looked directly at Joel in the back row. Joel Brennan wrote a book called Faithful Marriage. Chapter 7 is about avoiding temptation, about guarding your heart, about how Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. My voice cracked, but I kept going. He wrote that chapter while having an affair with my wife. He rehearsed those speeches on Patricia. He preached about faithfulness every Sunday while living a lie Monday through Saturday. I gripped the podium. Today was supposed to be about resurrection, about new life, about truth defeating death. I looked at Hannah beside me. She was crying, but she was standing tall. Covenant Grace taught me that family means sacrifice. I learned that here when I was 16, angry and alone in foster care. This church gave me a family. My voice broke. I had to stop, breathe. Today I learned family means something different. Family doesn't lie. Family doesn't use God's name to justify betrayal. Family doesn't teach your daughter that love requires silence about sin. The camera was still broadcasting. 50,000 people watching. I'm filing for divorce. The elder board has removed Joel Brennan as senior pastor. A forensic audit found $47,000 in misappropriated funds. The board will return every penny to the building fund. I looked around the sanctuary, at the people I'd known, the students, the families. Some of you will take Joel's side, some will take mine. Some will leave the church entirely. I understand. This is devastating. This is the kind of betrayal that destroys faith. I looked at Hannah. But I'm choosing to believe that truth is stronger than lies, that real faith can survive honesty, that the church isn't a building or a pastor or a program. The church is people who show up and tell the truth even when it costs everything. My voice was barely above a whisper now. Bethany, I release you. Joel, you're free to go, but you're not free to stay and keep lying in God's name. Not here, not on my watch. I stepped back from the podium. The sanctuary was silent, 5,300 people holding their breath. Then I walked off the stage. Hannah came with me. Frank met us at the door. Behind us, I heard Raymond take the microphone. Service is dismissed. Elder Board will be in the fellowship hall to answer questions. We'll release a full statement by end of day. We walked out through the back hallways, out to the parking lot, got in my car. Hannah was sobbing. I was shaking. But we'd done it. We'd told the truth. To 50,000 witnesses. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized in June. Bethany got the house. I didn't want it. Didn't want to live in the place where I'd found that receipt, read that journal, discovered the lies. She got minimal alimony because of the adultery clause. I got primary custody of Hannah. The baby was born in early June. Bethany and Joel's son. Patricia Brennan filed for divorce in May. She and Joel had agreed to joint custody of their kids, but Patricia got the final say on major decisions. And one of her major decisions was that Joel's child with Bethany would be placed for adoption through a Christian agency. I'm not raising the evidence of his betrayal, Patricia told me, but I'm also not punishing an innocent child. He'll go to a family who's been waiting 7 years, a couple who will love him for himself, not what he represents. Bethany fought it. But she couldn't afford lawyers once the church cut her off, couldn't prove she was fit to parent alone while unemployed and unmarried. Joel wouldn't marry her. His lawyer said it would complicate his divorce from Patricia. In the end, Bethany signed the adoption papers. The baby went to a family in Kentucky, a couple who'd struggled with infertility for years. They sent photos once, a healthy baby boy smiling in his mother's arms. I didn't keep the photo, but I prayed for him, that he'd grow up loved, that he'd never know he was conceived in betrayal, that he'd have the kind of family I'd always wanted. Joel left Tennessee entirely, moved to Texas, started a new church, they said, wrote a blog about second chances and grace for the fallen. I didn't follow him, didn't care. He wasn't my problem anymore. Covenant grace survived. Barely. Membership dropped from 3,500 to 1,800. Half the congregation left. Some followed Joel to Texas. Some went to other churches. Some stopped attending altogether. But the ones who stayed rebuilt. They brought in a new pastor, a woman named Rebecca Torres, 50 years old, formerly a missionary in Guatemala. She preached about honesty, about institutional accountability, about how churches should be safe places. Patricia stayed, kept leading children's ministry. Her kids stayed too, 8 and 11, dealing with their own trauma, but healing. Raymond stayed. Marcus Webb stayed, the faithful remnant. Hannah and I didn't stay. We found a new church, smaller, 150 people in a renovated warehouse in South Nashville. No fancy screens, no broadcast feed, no building fund campaigns, just people showing up on Sundays to sing and pray and tell the truth. Hannah's going to college in the fall, not Bible college like she'd planned. She changed her mind after everything happened. She's studying social work now. Wants to help people who've been hurt by institutions they trusted. I still have faith, she told me last week. Just not in people who use God's name as a weapon. I believe in the God who shows up when everything else falls apart. I got that. I believed it too. I still teach at Franklin High. Still coach debate team, but I transferred to public school. Didn't want to be at the Christian school affiliated with Covenant Grace. Needed separation. Distance. Frank is still my dad. Still calls me son. Still shows up every Sunday for lunch after the new church service. Martha passed away last year. Cancer, it was fast. But before she died, she told me something I'll never forget. Graham, you did the right thing. Telling the truth when everyone wanted you to stay quiet. That's what real men do. That's what real faith looks like. I think about that a lot. Graham and Hannah redefined what family means. Not who you're born to, not even who shares your beliefs, but who shows up with the truth when lying would be easier, who stays when leaving would be simpler. If you've built your own chosen family based on honesty instead of obligation, tell me about them in the comments. I want to hear your stories. And if this story moved you, if Graham and Hannah's journey meant something, subscribe. I tell stories about finding faith when institutions fail, about choosing truth when everyone wants you to stay quiet. I'll see you in the next one. Last week, I was at Hannah's college apartment, helping her move in, setting up her dorm room for freshman year. She has photos on her desk, one of Frank, one of Martha, one of the two of us from her high school graduation, and one object I didn't expect, the building fund pledge card, torn in half, framed. "Why do you have that?" I asked. She shrugged. "Reminder that buildings don't make churches, that money doesn't buy integrity, that the most important thing we can build is truth." Smart kid. She got that from her mother's intelligence and my stubbornness. Best of both worlds, I guess, even if one of those worlds turned out to be a lie. On my way out of Nashville, I drove past the old neighborhood, past the house Bethany got in the divorce. There's a for sale sign in the front yard now. She's moving, I heard, starting over somewhere new. I slowed down at the stop sign, looked at the house, the fireplace I built, the yard where Hannah learned to ride a bike, the kitchen where we'd had 1,000 dinners as a family. Through the trees, you can see Covenant Grace's spire. The building still stands, smaller congregation now, different pastor, but it's still there. The truth stands taller. I drove away. In my trunk, Hannah's mission trip duffel bag. She's going to Guatemala in 2 weeks. Not with Joel. With Pastor Rebecca's team, building schools, teaching English, serving people who need help. You know what's funny? Hannah said yesterday. I'm still going on a mission trip, still serving God, still trying to make a difference. The church didn't destroy my faith. It just showed me what real faith looks like. What's that? Showing up, even when it's hard, even when the building falls down, even when the pastor fails. God's still God. Truth is still truth. And family is whoever tells you the truth, not whoever tells you what you want to hear. The church isn't a building. It never was. It's people who choose honesty over comfort, who choose each other over institutions, who choose truth even when it costs everything. Hannah and I are family. Frank is family. The 150 people at our new church are family. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's what resurrection really means. Not coming back the same, but coming back true. I turned the corner. The church spire disappeared behind the trees. And I kept driving forward.